Welcome today to the fourth PREMIERE webinar. Today it's about who brings what to the consortium, utilizing the PREMIERE Consortium Tool Builder for successful partnership development. I am Lisa van Dijk and I'm part of the coordination team of the PREMIERE project at the Eberswalde University for Sustainable Development. And this webinar is the fourth webinar in the PREMIERE Project Skills Building webinar series, which are intended to support you in the development of better multi-actor projects in a co-creative way. So as you can see on the slide here, the webinar today is presenting the newest PREMIERE tool to support you in the process of consortium building. If you're part of building a consortium and you're not sure if your team of consortium partners has the necessary skills and tools to successfully implement a multi-actor project, this is definitely the right webinar for you. And today I am joined by Hanne Korreman and Jon Woning, which developed the tool developers, both from the Vlaanderen Research Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, or ILVO, in Belgium. And they will go through why and how the consortium building tool was developed and the different scenarios for the use of the tool. You will also have the opportunity to do some hands-on testing of the tool. Then we will hear from Lies de Bruin, he's also working for Vlaanderen Research Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries and Foods, so ILVO in Belgium, and she will share her experiences of using the tool as a coordinator in building a project consortium. And at the end of the webinar, there will be time to ask questions, especially to Hanne and Jon, about using the tool and its use. And of course, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And if you're re-listening this after the live recording, don't hesitate to drop us an email if you have any questions. And before I start, I just want to provide you with a short introduction to the PREMIERE project and also the multi-actor approach. The PREMIERE project, PREMIERE stands for Preparing Multi-Actor Projects in a Co-Creative Way. And we are a European Union-funded project that aims at strengthening the multi-actor approach by supporting the development of more relevant and coherent and well-prepared project proposals. So we're really focusing on the very first stage before a proposal is submitted for funding, and we are here to provide you with training and support in terms of relevant tools and materials to contribute effectively to the proposal preparation of multi-actor projects. And the project focuses on mainly three target groups. First of all, organizations who are preparing, who are participating as partners in the development of a multi-actor project for the first time. They might have experience in participating in Horizon projects or projects on national level, but they are fresh to the multi-actor approach and the requirement for multi-actor proposal development. Our second main target group are basically project coordinators who potentially would lead proposal development, and also other organizations or people within a project proposal development team who facilitate this process. And then furthermore, as a project, we work also with policymakers and executive agencies at all levels, including national contact points, to strengthen the enabling environment. So in the next slide, the PREMIERE project in a nutshell. So we are a coordination and support action. We're also a multi-actor project. And as we're also a multi-actor project, we are also providing you with the insight of how we apply the multi-actor approach in our project. We are 15 partners, private, public, research and practice. And the project is coordinated, as I mentioned before, from the Eberswalde University of Sustainable Development in Germany. It runs for 5 years and our budget is around 5 million. The PREMIERE project is all about the multi-actor approach, and probably many of you in the call already know about the multi-actor approach, but to make sure the context of the tool that we're presenting today, I just briefly introduce with a couple of slides the multi-actor approach. And I also urge you to look at the latest version of the description of the multi-actor approach description in the pre-publication of the Horizon Europe Work Program 2025, which has just been published 17th of April, and it's on page 22 and 23. So the multi-actor approach describes a form of responsible research and innovation. It aims to make research and innovation processes and its outcome more reliable, demand-driven, shared, and relevant to society. And it also aims to have these outcomes shared more extensively. In this quote, you see targeted array of actors. This can be quite a large and different array of actors, researchers, farmers group, farmers organizations, foresters, advisors, businesses, community organizations, civil society organizations, government representative, basically who is involved in your multi-actor project depends on your proposal objectives, and these actors involved are basically the ones that co-create the project results and are also users of the results. So really, it's all about bottom-up cooperation and co-creation, working together all along the project from the very beginning, from the project idea to planning to experimentation and to communication and dissemination. So each multi-actor project has to adhere to a set of 7 multi-actor requirements. And over the years, these have to some extent changed a little bit in description. That's why I say, please do look again in the 2025 call to the description. For example, what we noted already is that there is over the years a greater emphasis on the multi-actor projects needing to be more interactive, transdisciplinary, and co-creative. So just to walk through the multi-actor requirements, multi-actor proposals need to explain how you address the needs of the users. Your consortium is balanced in choice of relevant key actors with complementary knowledge to prepare practice-ready results. You have to use existing practices and knowledge and develop a sufficient number of high-quality knowledge exchange activities. And the process needs to be facilitated by an appropriate amount of methods and expertise, using expertise. And then, of course, it needs to complement existing research and best practices. It needs to add value. It needs to be practical and needs to generate practical and ready-to-use knowledge. And your outputs will need to feed into existing dissemination channels. So that's a very quick overview of the requirements. Yeah, next slide. So as the new 2025 call is just released, or at least the pre-publication, we are really here from the PREMIERE project to help you and support you. And over this period up till the submission in September, we will intensify our communication and dissemination to running two main campaigns to these 2 different target groups. Please join us. I'll share the LinkedIn code also in a minute to keep informed and to get updated with relevant materials, tools, etc. So what is it that we offer? The project has a portfolio, a basket of tools and materials that are there to help you in the development of your multi-actor approach in your project. It is on the most of the materials is in the online academy, which has very useful materials. So, for example, a multi-actor inclusion and stakeholder engagement checklist that is there to provide a meaningful integration of the multi-actor approach in your proposal. There are also, for example, pathway cartoons that explain the different development pathways for a multi-actor proposal. You have access to the webinars. You have access to a simulation game, and we're still developing a larger simulation game, and much more. Furthermore, we have hands-on materials with good practices. In the section is called MMA Practice. And we also have and will continue to organize brokerage events to connect especially new organizations to the multi-actor approach and potential consortiums. And we also are piloting seed funding for the engagement of operational groups and other interactive innovation groups in Horizon projects. So all in all, it is really about fostering your capacity for multi-actor co-creation during this proposal development phase. So this is just a screenshot of the website and where you can find the Multi-Actor Academy and the drop-down menus with all the different areas where you find all the tools. So that brings me back to today's webinar. Today, we address a specific aspect of putting the multi-actor approach into practice, which is the establishment of your multi-actor consortium. And just to make sure, this is one of your 7 requirements of developing an effective multi-actor approach. And a winning multi-actor project is more than only the consortium. So today we specifically address the composition of the consortium and the requirement of having a balanced choice of relevant key actors with complementary knowledge to pair practice-ready results. And this webinar will help you to answer questions such as, how do I know who brings what to the consortium? So how do I create this balance of knowledge? And how do I have the necessary knowledge and skills to successfully implement my multi-actor project? So as mentioned to you, this is the 4th webinar. There are 2 more webinars to come. There is a webinar to come on the 15th of May already in a bit more than 2 weeks, which goes deeper in the development of the concept and the methodology for your multi-actor proposals. And then on the 25th of June, there is a webinar that looks at putting yourself in the shoe of an evaluator. And with this slide, I now hand over to Hannah Koreman, who will explain the why and the how of the tool. And furthermore, please do contact us. We are here to help you, and connect with us on LinkedIn to stay up to date and to join the different campaigns. So Hannah, please, it's up to you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I will take over from Lisa and tell you a little bit more about the framework surrounding this tool, how it was established and why we constructed it. So first of all, one of the main PREMIERE goals was a compilation of a database of already available tools. So not constructing tools ourselves, but looking at what is already there as workshop guidelines, templates, videos, and toolkits that already exist, but maybe not compiled or not easy to find. So, and this for the goal to support you in drafting and implementing multi-actor strategy in your proposal, or building the multi-actor project consortium, as this tool today will aid you with, and also assist with the co-creative writing process, or setting up the management of a multi-actor project, or collaboratively designing a work program in this proposal. So this database is actually the frame for this tool. So this is still under construction. We aim for it to look as much as possible like this. We will see. And this tool that we will present today will be part of this database, as many others, that some of them we will have designed ourselves, but some of them will be tools that already exist, that are from other projects. But we want to point you to way a little bit more easy to these multi-actor tools. So this tool was made because there were many questions coming from multi-regional stakeholder panels held for PREMIERE in 2024 on, for example, how to build this multi-actor consortium and find the right partners. How do you find these right partners? How to know if they are the right partners? How to divide roles and activities then? And which competences are missing in a consortium when, for example, you have establish together your core consortium and you think, well, now who else do I need? Who else would be the perfect partner to complement my consortium? So this tool is there to support bottom-up cooperation between actors with necessary and complementary expertise, skills, and knowledge. You can use it from the very beginning of multi-actor proposal writing, and everyone involved in this consortium can benefit, newcomers as well as experienced partners, as well as coordinators. This tool aims to support multi-actor skills in different ways, so different skills. Mostly the skill to work with a diversity of personal and professional backgrounds. These are all represented. These should be all represented in the tool. So also the skill to be able to recognize and work with different organizations. Able to communicate transparently. I strongly believe this tool helps a lot with that. Make the process transparent, make the consortium construction transparent, and being comfortable with co-ownership and responsibility of tasks, results, and outcomes. So we started to construct this tool based on tools that already exist, similar tools that already exist. For example, the skills matrix from Skilltree. We came across these tools while constructing our database, but we refined it, redeveloped it, and improved it to be specifically usable for the multi-actor project proposal writing context. And for that, we also had 3 loops of co-creation sessions with different stakeholders, and we processed their feedback in 2024 to make this tool as useful as possible. Right, so this was a little bit more context, and now we move to the practical hands-on part with Jan.
Great. Welcome, everyone. I hope this works well. My name is Jan. I also work for Ilva, and I have helped develop this tool to where it is today. Yeah, if you could. I would like to take everyone on a little journey with us through the tool. In the next 20 minutes or so, I would like to show you around the template. I would like to explain where it has features and how to use them, and how to interpret the outcomes that will be shown to you. First things first, the tool exists basically in 6 steps. They are also explained in the tool themselves. I will show you where. But in short, the first task is identifying the skills that you need for a call. We have pre-selected some skills. I will also show you that. But you need to find and look into your own call to figure out what are the hard skills necessary, the topical skills that are mentioned in the call itself. Then secondly, you will likely come across the first partner organizations, people that you've worked with before or that you have met while researching a strategic idea or something else. You will then have to identify the roles that you need, which is often correlated with the work package design that you will be doing, as the work package leads and task leaders, etc., will be defined as roles. You will then step into the personal side of things. So from each partner organization, you will have to request which specific people with which specific expertises they have on board that can aid you in your call. And you will assign them roles in the 5th step. And from there, you can rearrange the necessary roles, because the tool will give you feedback on how well a certain person fits a certain role. But without further ado, I would like to jump with you into the tool. So from here, this is where you should end up. Either you can download the tool via Zenodo, or you can do it via the Premiere website. There's a direct download link there as well. We'll help you out if you cannot find it. But basically, on Zenodo, if you want to download this tool, you have here a very short explainer in a PDF. You can ignore it for now, but there's a small explanation if you need it. And here you will find a downloadable file, an Excel. if you download that, you will find yourself with a template, an Excel, which should be here. You might end up opening it on a different tab, but I would suggest start with the first tab all the way to the left, where there is instructions for if you cannot be bothered to watch this video again. There's a short explanation for each of the steps. You can see them, they are color coded. Step 1 color coded with the next step, and so forth. There's a short explanation, but I will quickly go through the tool now with you guys, so you don't necessarily need to study this. As well, if you prefer a more lengthy explanation, you can select here yes, and a more instruction-based explanation will open up. We won't need that for now. Let's straight up jump into the tool. And let's start with the step 1, skill catalog. So you'll be having a call. You find a call of interest, and it will mention certain topics. It could be anything from quality of waterways to food security. It doesn't really matter, but you will need certain expertises from this call. So we have divided the skills into 3 parts. In purple, you see the multi-actor specific skills. In blue, you will find the soft skills, and in yellow, you will find the hard skills. Let's start with the multi-actor. This is what we did to make this tool MAA appropriate. So we investigated with the consortium and with our stakeholders a set of skills that's preferably every individual in your consortium would be able to master, or at least have quite a bit of confidence in. And this ranges, like Hannah mentioned, from like being able to be okay with working with a diverse personal and professional backgrounds to being digitally experienced with different platforms. We suggest that you keep these as they are. There's a little template space if you need an extra one, but let's say for now we don't need an extra one. But it could be that you think of a very specific skill that you would like to add in the multi-actor approach side. From there, you have the 2 other skill sets. So you have the soft skills and the hard skills. Soft skills can be very basic, such as maybe you need someone who is experienced with conflict resolution. You probably need someone who is capable in decisive leadership, or at least with project management. These type of skills you can find here. These are all examples. You don't need to adhere to these. If you don't want some of them, delete them, throw them away. Like, for example, let's say I don't want these last. That's fine. I can just remove them. But let's say I'm interested in adding a specific facilitator, and you can just write it here, and it will be entered. So this is the hard skills will be, I think, the most straightforward, but also the one that takes the longest to complete, because this is topical for your call, right? So if you do something about waterways, you might need a hydrologist or a planner or someone with those kind of specific skills, and you would have to enter a description of that expertise somewhere in this thing. Also here you see a couple of examples. These are just examples. Ignore them or like remove them if you don't need them, or if you want to exchange them for something else. So but this is also something that you will come across later in the project, like especially at the start when you start designing your project, your proposal. You will find that this is not necessarily everything is clear. All the expertises that you want or need might not be already straight up front. Like maybe 2 months before the deadline, you figure out, I need a nutritionist or something, and you come back here, you enter it, and you can take it along in the tool. From here, we will jump into the organizational matrix. So this is very likely where you will start out when you first start exploring the possibility to answer a call for proposals, and you will find maybe some partners that you've worked with before, and you can enter their names. the type of organization that they are, the country they're from, which is important for your diversity criteria. And then from there, again, these are all just examples. We had a bit of fun with them, remove them and make them accurate. But from there, you will see here in the top row, you will find all the skills back that you have selected. And here in the very top, you find a definition of scoring. So basically, we're gonna now figure out what are the skills or what are the expertises that each of these organizations can bring to the table. And you score them from anything between a 0 and a 4. 0 meaning they have no prior knowledge of the concept or of the skill of this expertise. And 4, they are also good in practice in theory, but also they can probably support others in doing in exercising this expertise. You can score them like so. These are all examples. You see, we have not scored these, but like, let's say, there you go. Oh, that will give an error, but that's fine. Once you have done this, you're very likely to have at least a couple of organizations already on board, and you will start to discuss work package design and stuff like this. From this work package design, you will very likely find your first set of roles, which would include work package leaders and task leaders, project coordinators, co-coordinators if that's applicable. But also here you might want to enter specific expertises that you find are necessary. So for example, we have here a multi-actor expert. Maybe because we found in the scoring that the consortium lacked a bit of the expertise there. So we might actually have that be a specific role, and we are going to find someone in the consortium for the consortium that can safeguard that role. But also communication specialist, for example, or like a project participant is the most, everyone technically is a project participant. So from here, you have defined your roles, and you will have to say, well, this if you want to be a work package leader, you need to be quite good at certain things, and you might not have to do certain other things, like maybe you don't need any practical experience managing rural farms, for example. So you will put it at 0, but it would be really nice if you have a network of associated organizations in different countries, for example. If you have done that, then we're going to jump to the 5th step, which is you just had all the organizations, but technically organizations are nice as a name on your consortium, but you will be working together with people from those organizations. And there might be multiple people. It's very likely that there's multiple people per organization. And therefore, it is time here to enter all those people that the organizations push forward as being available for your call. Again, here you can enter their names, the organization from a drop-down menu from the earlier organizations that you defined, and you give them a role. You can also check for gender if that is something that you want to take with in the call, which is sometimes now a very topical point. And again, here you will enter how well they score. So these people, they are very good at certain things and maybe not as good as others at others. And you will score them, and you will get basically for every person, you will exercise whether or not they fit a certain skill. And by putting them into a role, we're going to compare that, the roles that you find in the matrix, we're going to compare that to what has been filled out here in the next step. And we will see if we have some gaps somewhere. So let's do that now. These are all examples. So let's jump in and look at the gap analysis. And what you can see here, I will enlarge. Oh, and then it was gone. Sorry. There you go. What you can see here is the same layout again. This time nothing is interactable, like you shouldn't write anything here, but this is just to give feedback. So you will see here, in general, the MAA skills are pretty good. There's one person with maybe not as much experience, which might warrant some attention. And there is able to communicate transparently about agendas and expected results. You see a bit of a negative curve, which might trigger you to think, oh, maybe we need that communication specialist to partake in the consortium. These are all very negative because we didn't fill anything in, so don't worry about that. And you will find the same thing if you see the INR, it means not relevant. So probably in the role you said it is a 0, and so it was not necessary for that person to have that expertise. You can also find a compiled scoring at the bottom. In purple, you will find the consortium average multi-actor score. You can find the average soft skill score and the average hard skill score. So if it's 100%, that's perfectly fine. So in this case, it says 13%. That is very, very low. It will give you a tooltip, and the reason why it's very low is because in the allocation matrix, we didn't fill in the things. So these are all very negative. But the other ones we see, oh, there's 111, that's pretty good, and here's 124. And if you have a high score, it will also give you a tooltip. Maybe you have a bit too much of a certain expertise in a specific place, and you could do with slightly less people, or you can reorganize a bit. Also here in the left, you can see your ratios, your gender ratios for your proposal. So then there's a last tab, which is the printout. This is just an aid. You don't need to use it. But when we jump back, so we have the allocation matrix. So we're going to have to fill in for each person how good they think they are for a certain skill. You can do this by interviewing them, so you can do it yourself, but it might also be a very big consortium and you want to send it out, right? And that's where the printout comes in. You can have them enter your name. You can have them score themselves. And if you want to be slightly more sure, because of course some people will score themselves 4 and everything, you can sort of check that by having them fill in the second page of this as well. On average, this should end up scoring about 50%, because it is always a competing skill. So if certainly someone scores here above like 100%, you know that they are very confident and maybe a little bit too confident. The average score you get here, you can go back to the allocation matrix. Very in the back, you can say, well, for example, they scored a 1.6. Well, oh, so 60% confident. Who is that? Because I did a comma thing, probably. There you go. And so it will correct the confidence interval. And so in this skill tab, it will not be visible, but if you go to gap analysis, you will see that all their scores have been corrected. So in this case, they were not very confident about themselves because they scored only a 2, and so we're saying, well, they should outperform most people. So it's a slight correction. Normally, you wouldn't see this much change, but it's just for you there. If you have a big consortium, for example, then use the printout. Don't interview everyone yourself because that's a lot of work. So, in short, this consortium builder it will help you do a couple of things. In its very basic form, it can help you keep track of consortium partners and candidates by just filling it in. But you don't necessarily have to use all the features. But it can also help you manage the necessary and desired expertise within your consortium to be right. So figure out which hard skills are necessary and if those are present in the current composition of your consortium, as well as identify gaps in the expertise that you will have in the end. Again, and here's a link. We'll post it also in the chat, so you can start playing around yourself if you want to. But I would first, because in a bit we will have the question and answers. So I would ask you if you have any questions, please put them in chat. And from now we will go to Lies. Hello, Lisa.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm waiting for the presentation, but I'll start by introducing. So I'm Lies de Bruyne. I'm a colleague of Jon and Hanne here at ILVO. And besides being their colleague, I also coordinate the Climate Smart Advisors project. I was asked by Hanne and Jon to give some reflections on the Consortium Builder Tool based on my prior experience. Of course, the tool was not yet available at that time, but I think I could have some, yeah, it still needs to switch. So some reflections, but before I start with the reflections, you can go to the next slide. I don't know. No, we are not. I don't know what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Is it working now?
Yes, now it's there.
Awesome. Yes.
So before I give some of my very personal reflections, I'll give a very brief introduction to CSA, Climate Smart Advisors Project, to help you understand a little bit of the context. So Climate Smart Advisors is all about connecting and mobilizing the European advisory community to support the transition to climate smart farming. And we started a little bit more than 2 years ago, so in April 2023, and we still have about 5 years to go. So it's a 7-year project. It's a 7-year project. We have quite a large consortium. We have 74 partner organizations. This includes beneficiaries, but also a group of affiliated entities and associated partners, and we have them in 27 countries across Europe. So our objectives, really short, is, as already mentioned, is we aim to mobilize the European advisor community and to connect them in a network, but not just for the sake of the network. Our goal is to support the advisors' capacity building. So the advisors in the network support their capacity building for providing targeted and more context-specific climate smart advice, which then in the end should contribute to a broader uptake of climate smart farming practices, approaches, and innovations by the farming community. So we aim to achieve these objectives through a wide range of activities, and I won't explain everything in detail, but just as a kind of broad overview, the network is actually organized in, let's say, 3 sub-networks. At the core is the communities of practice network, so at the left of the image. So it's our ambition is to set up, over the course of those 7 years, 260 small communities of practice. These communities of practice are groups of advisors which have a very strong focus on peer-to-peer exchange and self-directed learning. So these are local groups of advisors who exchange their knowledge and who share experiences. These are then connected at a national level, and they are organized into 27 national climate smart farming networks. Sorry. So in the national networks, you have the different COPs which are active in a country, but we also have activities where they connect to other ACES actors, so to research, to farmers, to policy, to any other type of ACES actor at the national level. And then at the EU level, we mostly support exchange across thematic areas, which are listed at the top. So we have 12 thematic leaders facilitating these exchange on topics going from water management to crops management to rewarding mechanisms, etc. We also have some activities focusing on more, let's say, the outside world. So we are constantly looking for synergies with other projects, but also flagship initiatives, and of course, try to connect to policymakers as well, as I think all Horizon projects. Yeah, maybe you can go to the next slide. So maybe just to conclude my introduction, I want to emphasize that Climate Smart Advisors is in fact a multi-actor consortium. It was also a requirement listed in the call, but considering our focus, I think around 2/3 of our consortium are advisory service providers, one way or the other. So we have the majority of advisory organizations, both public, private, NGO, and non-profit organizations are on board. But besides those advisory organizations, we also have research institutes, agricultural colleges and universities, a number of farmer organizations and cooperatives, and we also have UFRAS as a partner, which is in fact an international network of advisory organizations. So following this introduction, so you have a bit of understanding, I think the key point was also that we have quite a large consortium to deal with, and that was a bit of a challenge during the proposal stage. So some thoughts on the PREMIERE Consortium Builder Tool. As I said, it was not available at the time of the proposal, so it's just some personal reflections and some initial thoughts, which might also change if I actually use it in the future for building a consortium. So, but my first thoughts when going through the tool and thinking back on the process was, I first will give some limitations, but then also some points where I think I would use it in the future. So, but starting with some potential limitations, I was a bit worried that such a tool is that there is a slight risk of favoring larger and more experienced partner organizations. During our consortium building for climate smart advisors, we worked with a couple of SMEs, or we worked hard to get some smaller organizations on board, and they are already very much at the edge of their capacity when it comes to administrative load. And then still getting some extra questions in would maybe be a bit too much for them. I think also large organizations, in terms of the scoring, large organizations also can depend a bit on what I call the large expertise pool, because they simply have more people working for them. So they, I think, can score higher across the board. And yeah, there was a question on who scores. Jon indicated that it could have been me, or that you ask people to do the self-assessment. I would struggle to decide what is the best approach. I think it would have been really difficult for me to score across the board for everyone. But then indeed, the self-assessment is maybe a bit tricky, but there is a mechanism in place. So maybe that's probably the way to go. I could imagine that building the skills catalog would have been challenging for us. And also, as Jon indicated, it's something that of course can evolve, and you can add skills as you go. But considering the large group of organizations we had, having multiple iterations of this and having to go back to people and ask, okay, could you still indicate your scores for this skills, would probably be difficult. I could see it working for smaller groups, but I think it would have been challenging for us. And allocation at the level of the individuals, as is the fourth or the fifth step, I'm sorry. While I think it's possible, I think it quite often changes after the proposal stage. So once the project gets started, I could imagine that you would have to do quite a bit of changes to this. I'm not sure if this is really a problem, but it's something to consider. But of course, I also have some thoughts on how the tool could have helped us, and also why I would use it in the future, because I think it was very helpful. I think that it's very user-friendly, and it provides, actually, to my understanding, a very structured approach and clear guidance for partner selection. And considering the size of our consortium, I could imagine that it would have been actually quite helpful to have the structured approach, and would have helped quite a bit in making the selection. And even though I mentioned that building the skills catalog was challenging, I think it's actually also helpful to support the common vision quite early on with the core team. Having discussions on what skills you think are most important often also connects to what you actually want to achieve with your project. So in that sense, I think it also has some added value in that respect. I know Jon mentioned that you could send out the print sheets to everyone, but I think in building a consortium, you mostly want to talk at some point, at one point or the other, with most partners. So we talked to a lot of partners in our consortium building, and I think actually the tool would have been a nice support to structure these talks more, to have more uniform talks, and that you can compare maybe a bit more the information that you gathered from the different potential partners. What I also saw as a clear benefit is that you actually have, when you complete the tool, have a clear overview of relevant expertise at an early stage. And you need this anyway for the proposal writing. For us, this was a bit of a stressful moment at the final stages, getting all this information in. And this way you have it quite nice and clearly structured at hand. This is probably more at the moment of implementation, but in case people drop out, you have actually a nice overview on what you're looking for in terms of replacement. So it can help you also replace people in case of dropouts. And what I also liked very much about the tool is that it's actually quite flexible in its use. So you could also treat it more as kind of a modular system where you maybe not go through each of the steps individually, but pick out one or two elements which you think are of benefit. So that is also what I saw as a clear benefit. So thank you. And yeah, I look forward to hear more of your thoughts as well. Thank you.
So we will start with the Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see if there's any questions.
Yeah, there are questions. I am just going a bit up. There is a question in the chat, and then I'll go to the Q&A as well. So the question in the chat is, say I'm looking to find a consortium to join in a specific topic I've studied in detail. So say I'm looking to find a consortium to join in a specific topic I have studied in detail. Could I use the tool in a simulated example to show to a potential coordinator how valuable I can be for a certain aspect? Plus, I'm offering the coordinator a useful tool. I guess the final questionnaire can be used that way as well.
So on the topic of whether you could use it, I think there is faster tools to use when you want to get into a consortium and want to show yourself. Like I'm thinking about making yourself like a partner profile. So that would be like basically the business card of your organization with all the sales points and pitches in there in one A4. I mean, technically, you could do a simulated event. I think it will take you significantly more time, and I would not be entirely sure if the consortium coordinators would be subject, but maybe at least you have a.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do with it. I think it's maybe a bit much, and I think if it comes out of the blue, it might be a bit I think it's very helpful as a coordinator to think about the skills beforehand yourself. And I think it's actually quite challenging if you want to use it for your promotion, because then you also have to guess a bit the skills that the coordinator is looking for. So I tend to agree with Jonas that there are probably easier ways of bringing your expertise to the attention of a project coordinator at this stage.
There is another question from Hakim, and he says, so if I understand well, this tool is to score the known partners, but it does not help to identify the partners with specific skills or knowledge.
Yeah, so no, it does, like it will help you identify the skills that you need and have not yet covered by your partners. So that is that is where it's useful, and it does not help you necessarily find any specific partner that would fill those skills perfectly. You would have to look for that one, but you would have a targeted search rather than a more random search. If that answers the question.
And I have another question from Suzanne. I share Lee's question on the risks of excluding less experienced organizations, and I would like to enlarge it to younger personnel, which are not so much experienced in Horizon and sometimes even research, but which profiles are very interesting when working on innovation for building the future. How do you cover this in the PREMIERE project? I can start with answering that. So that is definitely part of one of our target groups. The target group one of the first target groups that we look at are individuals that are exactly in that group. They might not have that much experience with engagement with the multi-actor project, and they might or might not have more experience, have worked in projects before. But that's definitely the profiles that we are targeting with the one of the target groups and one of the campaigns we are interested in, and getting these type of people engaged in the projects as well. Can the tool do anything to help this? Partly it can identify well, the skills of the people that are in the project. Yeah, any thoughts on that?
I mean, in the partner allocation, you could enter as many specific people as you'd like, right? So if you're not entirely sure which person is a good fit, or if you have besides gender, or if you have some other criteria, including being young, then you can enter that in the comment field. It is not designed to scan for youth of participants at this point.
Yeah. Then I've got another question from Eduard. He says, why is there a single list of skills, the skills catalog tab, that is applied to organizations and individuals, when in fact some skills are applicable to organizations and others are for individuals? How to address this?
Yeah, I think you can, depending on which stage you are in your proposal, I can imagine like in the beginning when you write your proposal, you know which organizations you want to take into account, or you're looking for organizations rather than for people. Then you fill in the skills list based on organizations. But you do have the option to put on not relevant. So you could actually just add as many skills as you want in the list, and maybe you can add like organization skill 1 and then a skill, and then maybe you can also add individual skills, skill 2. So that's all possible to do with the tool. And if you don't want to delete and add in a different stage, so for example, if you start as organizations, but then later on in your proposal stage, you come to wanting to score skills for individuals, you can either take it out or just put them on not relevant. So I think you can easily do both with it, depending on what you like most.
Good. And then Jordi, who initially asked the questions about him wanting to join a consortium and using the tools to show how valuable he was for the prospective consortium, also writes, very interesting consideration from Lies. My only comment is that SMEs really willing to join a consortium would certainly make the effort to fill in a profile for their own benefit. At most, close guidance can help there. So I think that's a very useful reply, and I see Lisa's.
Well, maybe as a very short comment, I agree, and I think we had a very motivated SMEs, but it's more a bit out of concern for them. When I noticed we already, for some of them, they were not validated yet. That was already quite a big administrative hurdle, and I would be reluctant myself to add to it. I think it's of course a matter of the coordinator who can support on this. But I think they are already on quite a bit of pressure, so it's a bit more out of concern. I know some of them are very motivated and I think definitely able, but I would be cautious of putting more pressure on them in already complex procedures at some point.
Great.
Yeah.
Then we have a question from William. He says, hello, if we already have a consortium with hopefully the right expertise and skills, does it make sense to use the tool, and will it be valorized in the evaluation of the proposal?
You can for sure use it to check, right? If you didn't accidentally did a gap, but the tool is mathematical, so it will clearly tell you when you have selected the skill that you thought you wanted, or you thought you needed, and you have not yet found the right organizations to cover those, to cover that need. It will show, and it can therefore validate for yourself at least that you have covered everything properly, even if you're already in advanced stages of your consortium building.
I
Yes,
think
and
also I would like to add when there's a personnel change, which happens a lot, that you can see, well, actually the organization kind of promised that these skills would be there and would be delivered. So if you're looking at a personnel change, then also this can help, like, okay, this organization promised to do this. You're looking for a replacement who can also do this.
yeah. And also it says, I have hopefully the right expertise. And I think that's exactly what the tool is helping you to do, to not make it something that you hope, but actually that you have a tool to use to make sure of this. Let me see. Is the process valorized by the reviewers? No, the process is not valorized by the reviewers. This is merely a tool for you to make sure that you have the right consortium, and you can write. You have to explain in your concept and methodology your composition of your multi-actor consortium. So you can use that. You can use that to put part of that in your description. Any other questions? So I can also see some comments. Very nice tool, definitely for coordinators. I would have dreamt of it in the past proposal. Cool. Good. Then I don't see any further questions. You know where you can find the tool. The tool is available both on Zonoma and on the Premiere Online Academy. Still, if you have any further questions, do not hesitate to contact us. And thank you for joining today. I just want to show again and make you aware of the 2 webinars that are still upcoming. And the first one goes further into the development and of the concept and methodology in your multi-actor proposal. And then in June, we'll look at putting yourself in the shoes of the evaluator. So thank you very much for attending this webinar and all your questions. And if you listening back to this webinar and you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very, very much.